Welcome back. It's harvesting time for onions and other summer sprouting plants. So what do you do with that empty space? Charlie and Sharon have some ideas for you on this week's In the Garden.
Ooh, Charlie, you got a nice crop of onions here.
Yeah, and it's time to harvest.
Really?
And you can tell when they start flopping over. You see some of the yellow ones and red ones that just naturally flopped over.
Okay.
That means they're ready to harvest.
Okay.
And it's a really easy thing to do. You literally just pull them out of the ground.
Can I do one?
You can pull it too.
You're going to be
Now,
pulling all of these. That was easy.
Yes, so we're going to pull them all out. If you have heavy clay soil or your onions are planted deeper, you might want to loosen up the soil first.
Okay.
But otherwise, if they're like these, you can just go right through and just pop them right out.
Because you planted these just right on top of the soil, didn't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to break the stems. You want to have them naturally dry. And what I'll do is put them into the garage on a drying rack.
Okay.
And they'll dry there for a few weeks. And when they're done, you just clean them up and you've got them for the winter.
Wow.
Now that we have this empty bed and it's only August, we can
Plant some
plant.
more.
Yeah, it's still plenty of time, especially for people who had a real rough time earlier in the season
Sure.
with their gardens and all the flooding. This is a good time to plant, and you can plant leafy greens, you can plant beans. We're going to try to get a late crop of beans in, and then anything in that cabbage family. They all do work really well, and even things like beets and carrots too.
Okay.
So we want to put a layer of compost right down here.
More compost, because those onions probably ate a lot of the
They ate a lot of
nutrients.
soil, so we're just going to scratch a little of that in. And then we're going to put in some cabbages. The nice thing about these no-dig beds is it's really easy to plant stuff because you just do this. Literally with your hand, you pull your plant out and you just pop it right in. And these are cabbages that I bought locally. So a lot of garden centers now are supplying things like lettuce transplants and cabbage transplants later in the season so that you can actually have a nice fall crop.
That was going to be my next question, is where do you find things? And you can get them now. Okay.
Exactly. And this is a great time of year for these kinds of plants because they like the cool weather. And once they start growing and form little cabbages, they'll hold in the garden for a long time. So you don't have to worry about them bolting or getting too much heat.
So
under
you could be
normal
harvesting these in what, September, October?
It's
or?
September, October, yeah. And they'll
Okay.
take a little frost, so
Okay.
they'll be fine. And then we can put in some beans. Now the beans normally is something you put in May or June, but I've had success growing them when I sow them as late as the end of July. So we're going to try these.
Try to see if you can get them in before it's too late.
Exactly. So we'll just do some little rows of beans here, just a couple.
So
Just
this
to
might
see.
be, you'd have better luck like in the Champlain Valley than say up in the Northeast Kingdom.
Yes, exactly. Champlain Valley, southern Connecticut River Valley, southern
Yeah.
Vermont, places like that. So
All
I'm just going
right.
to put some beans in here. And then the last one will just be arugula.
Okay.
And that one's an easy one to grow because all we're going to do is we could just rake this up a little bit,
Okay.
loosen up the soil, and we're just going to sprinkle. We're just going to sprinkle the seeds all through there, just
And-
like that.
And cross our fingers.
And cross our fingers, and then rake it a little bit more. Maybe
Want me
just
to rake a
very,
little?
very lightly, yeah. Like you're combing your hair.
Okay.
And then the last thing you want to do to make sure it all stays safe is to cover it. Because there's a lot of insects, there's a lot of animals, there's a lot of things that can go after all these young tender plants.
So what are you covering it with?
We're covering it with this material. It's called micro mesh. It's kind
Okay.
of like a window screen. It was over the onions, and now we're going to put it over these guys. And we
Oh,
just-
this is stronger than some of those other.
Yes, it's stronger than some of
covers.
the other fabrics that are out there. It lasts longer.
Yeah.
Had good success with it. And it'll keep insects out from laying eggs or eating our little seedlings as they come up, and keep animals out too.
Okay.
And we'll just attach it with some clamps and we'll be ready to go.